Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'm going to get it started with our land acknowledgement. KFLNA is situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee. We recognize the long and distinguished history of the peoples of this region that predates the establishment of European colonies. We also recognize the significance of this land for Indigenous peoples who have lived and continue to live on this land. BGC Southeast honors all First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and peoples of Indigenous ancestry and their valuable past and present contributions to this region. Honourable Member of Parliament Mark Garretson and Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, wow, please accept our warmest greetings and welcome from everyone at BGC Southeast. We are so pleased to host you here and honoured to have you in a space that we all love and are so deeply proud to share with you today. Every year, thousands of children come through these doors and are given opportunities that they may otherwise not have had. Across Kingston, we have safe, supportive spaces where children and youth can access a multitude of programs. And at the heart of it all is providing kids new opportunities to discover and to achieve their full potential. The reality is that opportunity changes everything. When we partner together and focus on kids and families, the world and all of our futures are brighter for it. As Canadians, we pride ourselves on our kindness, on our ability to care for and show up for each other and our neighbours in times of need. Here at home, as well as on the world stage, you make it clear that kindness is a part of our DNA. It is a part of the DNA of Canadians. We thank you for the important work and for the support that you and your government provide to families across Canada. Everyone in this room, so many Canadians, so many people, and you, our Prime Minister, are a perfect example of how leading with kindness truly works. Thank you so much for being here today and for this opportunity. And it is now my pleasure to welcome our MP, Mark Garretson, to say a few words. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jackie, for that introduction, and welcome everybody to the Boys and Girls Club, one of the 3 locations in Kingston. I just want to start by, a big shout out to Harold and all of the folks that make the Boys and Girls Club work in our region. I have had the opportunity to watch the Boys and Girls Club really thrive over the last 15 to 20 years, going from that one location downtown to expanding out to the West End here, the new East End location. You're genuinely improving the quality of life for kids in our community. And Jackie mentioned something. She talked about partnerships. The reality is the federal government couldn't do this on its own. The federal government needs partners to work to build that community, to support children, and that's exactly what you're offering. I've had the opportunity to have my kids here on a number of occasions, whether it's taking them to birthday parties or Frankie's karate lessons right in this room. By the way, any parents out there, if you bring your kid to karate here, the parents are required to participate. I didn't know that till we showed up on the first day, but nonetheless, I tried my best. Prime Minister, I'm glad you weren't here that day to witness that. But nonetheless, I just want to say that our government is absolutely committed to working with organizations like the Boys and Girls Club, but more importantly, supporting parents so that we can support children, so we can give them the absolute best shot at life. So without further ado, it's an absolute honor to once again welcome back to the riding of Kingston and the Islands, the City of Kingston, our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Mark, for your words, but thank you also for the incredible work you do, not just in being a strong voice for Kingston and the Islands in Ottawa, but for tremendous leadership in the House of Commons as well. You've been a strong player on our team for a long time, and it's always great to be able to come and visit you here in Kingston and the Islands, a place I know you love so much. Jacqueline, thank you so much for welcoming us here to the Boys and Girls Club. It is such an amazing place. You can feel from conversations with the parents to seeing the kids just how vibrant and dynamic this place is, what a huge part of the larger community it has become, and we're glad to be able to continue to support the incredible work you do in preparing our kids for what is going to be a challenging future. There's no question that we're in a time where the pressures, whether it's financial pressures, the cost of living, even though inflation's coming down below 3% now, food prices are still high. We're seeing destabilization in the geopolitics. It's having an impact on energy and on food prices. We're seeing challenges still as we get over the knock-on effects from the pandemic, dealing with climate change. There's a lot of reasons to be uncertain about the world. And that's where Canadians really shine in being there for each other, in stepping up and supporting people. And one of the great examples of how we were able to do that as a government is what we're marking today. 7 years ago, we brought in the Canada Child Benefit. It has lifted over 500,000 kids out of poverty. It has impacted families from coast to coast to coast with hundreds of dollars tax-free every single month to help with the high costs of raising kids. Today, July 20th, is the updated CCB. It's increasing by 6.3%. Which means for an average family making about $65,000 a year with 2 kids, that's an extra $1,000 this year that's going to help out with the cost of living. So we know that being there for people in targeted ways to support families is one of the best ways to create a strong, growing economy for the future. We've done that in many, many different ways. Even just this month with the grocery rebate that went out on July 5th to over 11 million people, with childcare fees cut in half here in Ontario and $10 a day in many parts of the country. We're going to continue to step up and support people with dental care, with investments in health care. We know that confident countries invest in themselves, and that's exactly what we're doing as we continue to step up and prepare for great jobs in the future and a growing economy that is providing solutions that the world needs. Aujourd'hui, on est ici pour souligner que l'allocation canadienne aux enfants marque sa 7e année. Et cette année, aujourd'hui, on est en train d'accroître l'ACE de 6,3 % pour aider les familles avec les coûts de la vie. Oui, l'inflation est en train de diminuer. On est maintenant à 2,8 %, mais le coût des aliments demeure haut et on est là pour aider avec ces mesures-là. On est là aussi pour aider avec les soins dentaires. On est là pour aider avec des centres de petite enfance et des garderies qui ont diminué de moitié prix à travers le pays. On continue d'être là pour investir avec le remboursement sur l'épicerie qui est arrivé pour aider 11 millions de Canadiens il y a juste quelques semaines. Donc, on va continuer d'être là pendant qu'on crée une économie forte et croissante. In a time of stress, politicians have a choice. As we note that people are struggling and people are worried, we can do either two things. We can help them with meaningful supports as we're doing and invest for a strong economy of the future, or we can choose to amplify those fears. Tell people that everything is broken, we should just throw up our hands and give up. Well, that's not what Canadians do. Canadians are there to help each other, as we've seen here at the Boys and Girls Club. Canadians are there to stand up for each other. We're there to be optimistic about building a stronger future, but clear-eyed about the hard work it's going to take to get there. I am deeply optimistic about this country, and seeing the boys and girls here at this amazing place only reinforces that we're building a better future every day, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it with all of you. So thank you, Jackie, for inviting me here, and thank you all for being here today. Je suis maintenant content de prendre vos questions des médias.
Hello, Prime Minister. Karina Roman, CBC News. Did your public safety minister properly handle the Paul Bernardo file in a way that was sensitive to the victims' families? And do you still have confidence in the minister, considering his office's handling of that file, of his transfer in English and en français, s'il vous plaît?
First of all, as we know that Corrections Canada is going to be releasing a report on the process around Paul Bernardo, our thoughts have to turn first to the French and Mahaffey families who continue to live the loss of their daughters so many years ago that still hurts deeply today. I think the entire country is still reeling from the anguish of these terrible acts, and that's the lens with which we have to go through all these processes. We have a justice system that operates independently, but we need to continue to make sure that it's doing so in a way that is putting victims and families first, that is reassuring people that it is rigorous in the way it goes forward. As you know, our Public Safety Minister has engaged with Corrections Canada on the protocols they use in terms of how people are notified, how high attention or high seriousness offenders are dealt with, and there is, of course, going to be ongoing work, and I look forward to Corrections Canada's news conference a little later today. Aujourd'hui, pendant qu'on est en train de réfléchir à ce qui s'est passé et les étapes qui ont été suivies et les communications au niveau de la situation de Bernardo, on doit commencer à avoir des pensées pour les familles. On doit les garder au centre de ce qu'on est en train de faire. La famille French et Mahaffey qui pleurent encore la perte de leur fille des décennies plus tard. On doit s'assurer qu'au centre de tout ce qu'on est en train de faire en tant que société, en tant que système de justice, on est en train de se souvenir de mettre les victimes et les familles des victimes au centre de toutes nos réflexions. Le ministre de la Sécurité publique s'est engagé avec Corrections Canada pour s'assurer que les protocoles qui sont en place et la façon qu'on va traiter des cas comme celle-là dans l'avenir et toute l'attention et la compassion qu'il devrait avoir pour les victimes et les familles des victimes.
Bonjour, Monsieur le Premier ministre. Je vous parle maintenant de Saguenay, de l'eau contaminée à la baie. Donc, on sait que les factures présentes et à venir pour filtrer l'eau temporairement et trouver une nouvelle source d'approvisionnement vont s'élever à plusieurs millions de dollars. Est-ce que le gouvernement fédéral s'engage à payer, compte tenu que la base militaire d'où proviennent ces contaminants-là, c'est de juridiction fédérale?
J'étais il y a quelques semaines à Saguenay, à Bagotville, plus précisément, et j'ai parlé à des individus, des familles, j'ai parlé à la mairesse extraordinaire de Saguenay aussi, pour lui souligner que oui, on va faire partie de la solution. Je sais que les discussions sont en cours. On reconnaît la part de responsabilité que la base militaire a eue dans la contamination possible de l'eau et présente dans l'eau. Je sais aussi que les Saguenayens sont extrêmement fiers de leur qualité d'eau, de l'eau du Saguenay, et nous allons nous assurer qu'on est là pour aider à restaurer l'image et la réalité pour cette belle communauté.
Kevin Gallagher with CTV National News. Prime Minister, I'm glad you brought up the Mahaffey and French families, because I also want to ask you, they've said this process of the transfer of Paul Bernardo to this lower security prison lacked transparency, accountability, and they've also asked for him to be sent back to a maximum security facility. How will you address the concerns of the families?
As you know, we need to put the concerns and the continued grief and anguish of the families at the center of whatever we do, with compassion and thoughtfulness towards the losses they felt that all Canadians who were following the news and who were around at that time of these terrible murders followed through as well. The Corrections Canada report that's coming out today will be highlighting what worked, what were the thinking and processes behind it. But as you know, our Minister of Public Safety has engaged with Corrections Canada to ensure that going forward there are lessons learned about how we make sure that sensitivity and putting the concerns of the families are at the heart of any significant decisions like this. There are always lessons to learn, and we're going to be following up on them.
Alex Mazer, Global News. I just want to ask about the BC port strike. Why did you only convene the incident response group yesterday? Was it meant to pressure the union to back down? And can you answer in English and French, please?
I think we were all dismayed, to be honest, when we found out that a good deal that had been worked out at the table, that was agreed to both by union leadership and by the management, had been suddenly rejected, and they were back in a strike position. This was unacceptable, just because, first of all, the impact on workers, on families, on businesses right across the country of this prolonged strike has been significant. And is a real problem for not just families who rely on jobs that connect with the world and rely on inputs to factories, from auto to everything else, but we needed to continue to make sure that people have faith in the collective bargaining process. So when the union turned its back and brought forward a fresh strike mandate, we did have to gather as an incident response group to talk about the impacts on the family and on the economy, and to look at the possible paths forward that we're looking at. We always know that the best deals are always found through negotiations at the bargaining table, and that's what we're focused on. But we also know that this strike could not continue, and we're glad to see that the union is reconsidering the good offer that was on the table and the agreement that was reached both by union leadership and accepted by both union leadership and management.
Nous étions évidemment préoccupés par l'impact économique de cette grève. Nous allons toujours pousser pour que tout différent travail se résout à la table de négociation. C'est là où les meilleures solutions sont toujours prises. Mais nous acceptions aussi que ça commence à être extrêmement pénible pour des familles, pour des travailleurs, pour des compagnies à travers le pays, d'avoir un pays ancré dans le commerce avec le monde, limité de cette façon par cette grève.
Will you invite the Israeli Prime Minister to Canada, and what message do you have for him regarding democratic concerns over there?
I have expressed my concerns a number of times. Canada is and will always be a steadfast friend to Israel. We recognize the violence going on right now is difficult for people across the region, both Israelis and Palestinians. We're calling for de-escalation and peace, and working through some of the flashpoints that are having. Canada has a long-standing position that settlements and the settlement process is illegal, and we need to stand against that. We remain steadfast friends of Israel, but every now and then we do have to point out where we disagree, and this is one issue that we disagree on. We're also very concerned about the judicial reforms that the Israeli government is determined to move forward with. These are things that, when you make deep changes to judicial principles and approaches in a democracy, you need to strive to create and find greater consensus across party lines among people around big changes like that. And I'm going to continue to encourage Prime Minister Netanyahu to look for greater consensus as they look at judicial reforms.
Will you invite him, though? Will you invite him, though?
And that's not on the table right now.
Hello, Mr. Prime Minister. Ian McAlpine from the Kingston Week Standard. Sir John A. Macdonald's legacy has taken a bit of a beating over the last couple of years. His statue was taken down 2 years ago. Bellevue House, where he once lived, is being reimagined. So what can the Canadian government do to repair his legacy, if that's even possible?
Well, I think history belongs to all Canadians, and a mature, responsible community and a mature, responsible country should be open to have conversations around historical figures that, did good things and did bad things, as any human being will do. And how we
teach and understand and commemorate legacies, how we reflect on what it means to move forward on reconciliation while learning from both the successes and mistakes of the past, is a conversation that's happening at the community level, it's happening at the national level, and will continue. What we need to do is make sure we're listening to people, listening to the broad range of perspectives of people who've been hurt by terrible errors of the past, as well as people who look at this great country we are today and know that it's because of leaders of generations past who were not perfect but pushed us towards where we are today. A mature country should be able to have those discussions in a responsible, informed, and sensitive way, and that's what I see here in Kingston, and that's what I continue to see across the country.
Mr. Prime Minister, you didn't directly answer the question about your public safety minister. Do you have confidence in him to continue after this handling of the Bernardo transfer file?
I have an amazing team in Ottawa and an amazing group of MPs right across the country who are committed to serving their country every single day. And anyone in my cabinet, by definition, has my confidence. Merci beaucoup tout le monde.